So welcome to VZCode, mob programming code editor. So to get started with development, just clone this, and then you need to run npm install to install the dependencies, and then npm run dev will start up a local instance of it, and you get a bunch of sample files, and there are various files like .ts files, .json files, .jsx files, .html files. So there's a variety of different files just to test out things like the syntax highlighting support for various languages, and the widgets like the color picker. If you hold down Alt and click on a color, you get a color picker, and if you hold down Alt and click on a number, okay, it doesn't work in CSS. That's one thing we could fix. But if it's in JavaScript, you can hold down Alt and move left and right to do this hot reloading thing, which is super, super cool. All right, so just a quick overview of the VZCode code base. There is package.json, which defines the dependencies. You can get a sense of what we depend on. So we use Vite as the build tool as opposed to Webpack or something else. And Vite internally uses rollup. And so when you run npm run dev, that's actually a script defined here in package.json. It's this one here, which actually concurrently runs this command, npm run test interactive, which does cd test sample directories kitchen sink. And that's where all those example files live. And then it runs node and starts the server. So when you run npm run dev, it starts the server. And then it also starts Vite, the Vite dev server, which hosts the front end. And so there's actually two servers going. One is the VZCode server, which interacts with the file system, and then the other is the Vite dev tools. So rather than look at the files like this, I want to show you something I made recently, which is this visualization of the VZCode source files. So this is a visualization of the source code tree of VZCode. I just ran a command that outputs the list of files in a hierarchical way, and is colored by file extension. So the blues are .tsx, which is TypeScript plus JSX, which is mainly what we're using here. And there's also a bunch of .ts files, and the things that end in .test.ts are unit tests. And we do have unit tests for a number of things. But yeah, here you can see there's the kitchen sink sample directory, which has like a big file and a recursive directory just to test the recursiveness. You know, to test out, well, let me just show you. It's recursive to test out this idea of nested folders with the sidebar, because we had to do that development work. And yeah, it has a lot of features. Like you can rename things, you can delete things, you can change the settings, like you can change different color themes. You know, the Eclipse theme, you can change the font, you can change the font size, all these things. So yeah, this is sort of what it looks like. The majority of the code is in source/client, which defines the front end. And within the front end, there's things like the sidebar directory, which defines everything in the sidebar. And then there's the code editor directory, which defines everything in the code editor, including the interactive widgets. And these widgets are each defined in their own file, like the color picker, things like that. And then there's the server. Now the server is responsible for loading the file, for like listing out the files and then telling VZCode which files are present. It's also responsible for the real-time synchronization using this open source project called ShareDB. And so we can take a look at the actual code here. This is the server. It just imports things from ShareDB, and it does a bunch of stuff, but pretty much sets up the real-time synchronization. And you can see this in action locally if you just open up multiple tabs of VZCode, 2 tabs side by side, and open the same file, like index.js. Here you can see that there's my cursor. It's anonymous. And if you go over here, there's another different anonymous, and I can change this in one place and it changes instantly in the other place. And you can also use the interactive widgets to do those sorts of changes, and they propagate. So the main use case for VZCode is inside this product I've been working on for many years called VizHub. And I actually built this visualization using the VZCode editor, and it's inside of this environment. And so you could do things like use the color picker to, oh, I gotta log in. Hold up. So yeah, I put this in here in VizHub, and it's an environment that lets you edit code, and it does hot reloading. So you could do things like use the color picker to change the background color, or whatever else you want to change. Like, I don't know, there's different definitions of colors, for example. So if you wanted to really make, I don't know, markdown files pop out, you could change it like this. And the cool thing about it is you can zoom and change it, and the hot reloading works. It preserves state across hot reloads. So there are a bunch of features of the editor that are built to support this kind of editing. So yeah, that's the code base in a nutshell. I guess I could go over the front end code a little bit. Here's the top level, index.tsx. This is the one that kind of pulls everything together and makes the WebSocket connection to the server, which is what powers the real-time synchronization. And it sets up this context. Yeah, so a lot of stuff is inside of this context VZCode provider. And in React, if you don't know, a context is something that defines a bunch of stuff at sort of a high level of the component tree, and then any component inside can just reference it easily without doing prop drilling, which is passing props through like multiple levels of nesting. And then yeah, this file is pretty small, and it just sort of orchestrates everything. It says, okay, there's the split pane context, and then VZCode provider context, and then there's VZ left, VZ middle, and VZ right. And then this VZ resizer, which is the resize handle thing. And then from here, you can sort of drill down into whichever components you're interested in. Like VZ left is, what is this? It's the sidebar, the settings, and some modals. And then VZ middle is mainly the code editor, I believe. Yeah, the code editor. So this is like the main component. And it's also the tab list, which is the list of tabs on the top, the AI assist widget, and the error overlay. Like if you have a syntax error, there's an error overlay that pops up. And then what is the right? It's just blank. Yeah, I had thought about making this just open a local iframe, which might be cool, but it's kind of blank at the moment. Or maybe just disabled. Oh no, it's there. It's just this empty space just to test the resizing of the split pane, actually. This is the VZCode Kanban board. I'm a huge fan of Kanban. It's a sort of a methodology for keeping track of work. And I like it because it gives everybody visibility into who's working on what and what is currently being worked on, and also what's done. And it also allows us to prioritize things by changing the order. Like I can drag and drop to reorder these things. And usually Kanban boards are just the backlog in progress and done, but I pulled a couple things up to up next, which I see you all have awesomely self-assigned. So yeah, these are all in progress. That's great. Draft PRs. I'm a huge fan of draft PRs. So as soon as any of you start working on the code, like as soon as you make any code changes at all, put up a draft PR, even though it's not working or not finished, just so we can all have visibility into what's actually been done so far. Like if you get it to a certain point, you get it working a little bit, just make a PR. It's okay. It's okay that it's not done. And you can mark it as a draft PR. There's a feature in GitHub where you mark it as a draft. So yeah, as soon as you make any code change at all, just getting started with it, create a draft PR. That way it's easy to track the progress, and it's easy for me to give feedback on the direction too. Like if there's some issue with it, I can review it early before it's finished, just to like reduce the overall amount of like work. So yeah, that's sort of an overview of the project. So I hope you think it's cool and have fun working on it.